What's up, Zox fam? We're back with some more Etheria Restart. Now, we're going to be getting into a character overview of the Necro Miner Victor. Now, this is definitely a very unique character in the game, and I feel like a completely underrated character in the game. Now, I want to dive into as to why. Now, when we actually look at the skill 1, which is Monstrous Might, Victor delivers a continuous assault on a single enemy with Monstrous Might, dealing 3 hits of 90% damage. If his current HP is below 40%, he recovers HP equal to 70% of the damage dealt. So this is going to actually be making Victor one of the first infused characters that is able to self-sustain himself just simply off of his skill 1, right? Now, granted, it's a parameter of his HP needing to be at 40%, but it still will be something that will allow you to keep him alive outside of direct healing or even a lifesteal buff. Now, when we look at his passive, the Returner's Determination, as Victor nears demise, his fighting spirit intensifies. For every 10% decrease in his HP, his damage dealt additionally increases by 15%, and his damage taken additionally decreases by 7%. Now, the reason why this is so OP is because not only are you getting a damage reduction, but the damage dealt also is increasing, which is going to further increase how much HP restoration he will get from things like his single target skill 1. So really, really great funneling. Now, when we're looking at his skill 3, which is the Puppet's Fury, Victor unleashes his pent-up rage, launching a wild onslaught on a single target, dealing 4 hits of 110% damage. And before using the skill, he sacrifices 40% of his current HP, which is then converted into 120% proportional shield that lasts for 3 turns. So this is why I would say that they did an excellent job with how his kit works, because he's going to be reducing his HP by 40%, which leaves you about 20% to kind of play around with as far as HP layering or the flesh of the character. Because this does get converted into shield, this is also still going to play really well into characters that might ignore shields or strip shields and then still end up hitting some of that base HP. This is then thus going to allow you to be able to proc your 40% or lower HP threshold from the single target ability from the skill 1 to further increase your HP value or restore your HP value, I should say. So this is a really great way of them basically almost making it kind of guaranteed for it to happen with this character, because if you have so much HP, it's going to be much harder to ever see that effect coming into play. So it actually works out really, really well. Now, as far as module recommendations, I would definitely say with Victor, you can go for the Wellspring set, which is going to be on a 12 matrix bonus, giving you an HP increase of 45% HP. Keep in mind, this is something that's going to be very effective because that percentage that's taken, that 40%, will then thus be converted into shield proportional, right? So you want to make sure that you have enough HP value in order to ensure that you're getting enough out of that conversion. Now, from there, I would definitely say the Bramble set would also be really great because you get a defense increase of 10%. And an Animus has a 25% chance to counterattack with a basic attack when hit. And remember, this is going to be great as you're dealing and taking damage. If you ever find yourself in a moment where you need to restore, this just increases your chances of being able to utilize your skill 1. And then, of course, we have the Colossal Guard. So your defense is increased by 25% and your effect res is increased by 20%. Now, from here, I would definitely say as far as some alternative options, if you do want to go for more of a DPS build, you can utilize things like Onslaught, or if you want to, maybe even using things like Momentum, where on the Onslaught, it will give you an attack increase of 45% on a 12 matrix bonus. And then if you're trying to use something like, say, for example, Momentum is actually going to be giving you an extra crit rate increase of 12%. And when attacking, for each debuff or control effect on the target, damage is increased by 6% up to a maximum of 30%. Another one that also could work extremely well on Victor would actually be Battle Will. Battle Will is going to make it to where you're basically able to get an attack increase of 10%. And after the Animus uses an attack skill, there's a 20% chance to pursue the main target. So any of these sets can really work, but ultimately it's what you end up finding works best for you. Now, when we're looking at main stats and also substats that you can aim for, I would definitely say ones such as crit rate, crit damage, and HP bonus would be some of the better in slot ones to aim for, just simply because, yes, you still want Victor to be critting. Yes, you still want as much crit damage as you can possibly get because of that doubling, and the opportunity of him critting is basically just going to ensure you're killing and working down your opponent much faster. But you also want enough HP to where somebody's not able to just single target nuke him. And granted, you have different damage parameters coming into play. You still need to make sure that you're safeguarding Victor as much as possible so he's able to do as much damage as he possibly can. and hopefully at that point not die. You want him to just basically be constantly rubber banding, going down and up in HP, because that means that at that point his kit is basically working. Right now, as far as substats, I would definitely recommend things like your crit rate, crit damage, of course, HP, which would be really great. Defense doesn't hurt. And you can also invest in stat values like effect res if you really need it, which is going to just help with alleviating debuff landing on you. Now, as far as shell recommendations, I would definitely say with Shadowrunner, you could definitely use the Unbridled Science. Reason, Mermaid Princess also works extremely well because you'll also be able to remove debuffs, and specifically before the owner takes action, it'll purify 2 debuffs, Twilight Night, Black Flag, Shanhai Jing, Crossroads, Artisan, Alicorn, Halloween, Count, Lighthouse, which is a huge one, which triggers when the main body takes cumulative damage greater than 25% of max HP within a turn, healing the main body for 20% of max HP and increasing strike prep by 35%. Now, of course, getting into our infamous pros and cons, when we're looking at the pros of Victor, I would definitely say some of the biggest ones is simply the fact that he's able to self-sustain himself. He also is able to increase the amount of damage that he can deal, as well as decreasing the amount of damage that he takes. And I also will say his attribute actually plays a huge factor into this, because this actually makes him fairly attribute neutral for most content, which is going to make him a really amazing slot in for generalized content. Now, as far as cons, I think it's really important to note that Victor definitely does have a very interesting and slightly odd build to build up into. I think because you're constantly rubber banding, going down in HP, needing to go back up, it is going to be imperative that you have and find the right balance in order for him to properly rubber band himself so that he's never actually dying. I think the other thing is too, is that it is almost kind of going to be a requirement for him to have really good gear in order for him to be as effective as possible, just simply because there is the nature of him taking his own HP, then having to worry about receiving damage from opponents, and then also still then having to get a turn to be able to restore HP if he's at a certain threshold. So there are certain requirements to really getting this character to work, but like in most cases, when there's a higher risk, there's definitely a higher reward. Now, with all of that being said, that's going to be that for the Necro Miner Victor. I hope that this was able to give you a better understanding of how this Animus works and how you can possibly add him to your composition. Now, of course, with that, guys, definitely make sure that you guys let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Do not forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more amazing Etheria Restart content. But that's basically going to be that with this one. Everyone, stay blessed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.